Now entering the Steam Zone, we've got Nick Frazier, active duty Army. He's managed a large tech portfolio for Army Special Operations. He's joining us, of course, in his personal capacity. These opinions do not reflect the opinions of the Department of War, but we're excited to have him nonetheless. Nick, thanks so much for making some time for the Steam Zone. Tell us what's going on with technical experimentation this week. It's been a big week down for you guys.
Yeah, Noah and Ben, really appreciate you letting me come on and talk about this event. SOCOM technical experimentation event. We just did one. I just left Fort Bragg earlier this morning, and it's an event where we bring together SOCOM problems. We bring together vendors, and the magic sauce is we put operators in front of the vendors and the program managers to kick the tires on technology. So in plain language, we want startups and companies with really innovative emerging technology to come bring their prototypes and their early versions. And we understand where it's at technology wise, and we want to ask questions and provide feedback and see who's who in the zoo. And so it's just a really great opportunity for special operations of SOCOM to bring everything together and try to break down some of the obstacles.
Exciting stuff. Experimentation is a great word. What does it actually mean?
Yeah. So experimentation for us is that we have theories or theses that we want to see if a technology can do something. And then we want to get out and try to minimize the risk and figure out if it can work or not. So in this example is, can a thing do what it says it does? So the event this year, I think we had probably hundreds of entities applied. And I think the government down selected 70 to come attend. And they said they could do a certain thing. That's what the government selected them on. Again, I'm in my personal capacity. And when we laid out our expectations that we expect to be able to see it with our eyes or to manipulate it, a drone, a new software, whatever, some companies realized that they quite weren't ready for prime time, even though we had really reduced expectations for the emerging technology. And so for us, we want to see if it can do what it says it does, not necessarily in a lab environment and not necessarily in a full combat environment, but in a field environment. Can it work in the dirt? Can it work in the sunshine? Can it work in the humidity? Can somebody hold it, touch it? And so that's what we mean for experimentation.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh. And when I think about experimentation, back to my science days, you have what you talk about, the hypothesis. But one thing we didn't care about in experimentation, and my experience as a Marine, we did care about, unfortunately, is giving the space for failure. Like when you experiment, some things aren't going to work out, and that's okay. My experience with the DoD, not speaking for the DoD or the Department of War, personally in in any capacity either, is we are really bad at accepting failure in an environment, like letting failure happen in certain environments. How do you have a good experiment that allows for failure, but failure that we're learning from?
Yeah, it's a good point. It comes up a lot. So obviously nobody likes to fail, and we like to get all of our failure out before the mission, right? And training and preparation. The way we look at failure is we don't frame it as failing, we're failing as learning really quickly. And so we want to have as tight and as useful of a feedback loop as possible. And so in that case, for a young startup or a vendor, I want to make sure that we'll really start dumping in sweat and money into a solution, that there's actually a problem that we care about that they're solving as well. That if they think that the approach that they're taking is the exact one that a Green Beret Sergeant First Class is going to need on an ODA. And so we want to make sure that it's okay if they throw something up in the air and it doesn't go as far as it does, but they get really good user feedback out of it. That's a success for us. So we don't couch it as failure, we couch it as a really fast learning feedback loop.
Super important, especially in the earlier days of a company. Lay it out for us, Nick. Let's make some news here. What were some of the con-ops or some of the concepts of operations, some of the concepts of employment that y'all were testing this time? I know the theme was human-machine teaming. That's really broad. What were some of the things y'all tried out?
Yeah, a core special operation forces truth is that humans are more important than hardware. And so the theme of this technical experiment was human machine integration. And what that means in plain language is, how do we enable a human to do the things that only a human can do, and then allow machines to do the things that they're really good at? So making better, faster decisions. And that could be in an operation center. So in a classic example would be, for those that are familiar with an operation center, you have a lot of TVs and people are watching TVs. And if you have a drone overhead, historically, you had one person watching one drone and they just stared at the camera for hours on end. We've got technology now with AI and stringing together some of the AI with traditional software that basically allows the traditional petster to watch a lot more than just one feed. We can watch dozens, if not more, feeds as well. Some of the other things we're looking at, the drone dominance memo from the Department of War, from our Secretary of War, and the President's executive order said, hey, the United States is going to lead in drones. Huge thing, but we're not interested we weren't particular, the government wasn't particularly interested in just standard run-of-the-mill drones. We want to know about some of the enabling technologies that will provide a decisive edge. So we're interested on like, how can things go further? How can things have a lower signature? So a very unclassified example would be a loud lawnmower hovering overhead gives away the position. So how do I reduce the acoustic pattern of a drone so that I can do a whole lot more with it so it's not necessarily detected? Some of the other things we're really interested in is how do we protect ourselves from the same drone threats? When you talk about counter-UAS, which is a huge problem around the world and a huge area of focus for the US government, how do you detect, how do you disrupt, how do you defeat these things? And what we have found is that's going to take a lot of innovation from a lot of different sectors. And we're going to have to try to integrate these things to come together as well. I doubt that we'll see a one-size-fits-all solution. So those are the types of things we're really interested in. And we're looking, in plain language, we're looking for the companies that have a novel approach and they're pushing the envelope on what we thought was possible, pulling stuff out of the lab, out of the research institute, out of the garage, and having something that we can start seeing and kicking.
Yeah, Nick, when that goes well, so let's take this to its logical conclusion, right? These companies want to know, and folks watching who have been a part of this, one of the big questions folks ask before you go to an event, okay, great. Let's say we go, we hit a home run, we knock it out of the park, we crush exactly what you all wanted to see. What happens next? How quickly can you get us on contract? How big is the contract? Who are we going to be working with? So on and so forth. Talk us through what is the tail of this technical experimentation event? What happens for some of the successes that you see come out of this? What are the tools that SOCOM uses to quickly move from, hey, this was a cool experiment, to now let's get this into the fight?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different options that can happen out of this thing as well. I just want to highlight it's not just SOCOM that's there. We work with a lot of our government partners. So as far as technology, reconnaissance, we're on the gov to gov side, we're comparing notes, we're sharing information, we're trying to figure out if there's a way to collaborate in plain language, like how do we share resourcing? If you do this, I do that, how can I put some of my money in your contract? How can you put some money on my contract? The other things that we look at is some companies aren't quite ready. Some companies are moving really fast on elsewhere in the DoD, and instead of the government maybe doing a new start on a parallel effort, we figure out how do we add gasoline to an existing effort. That's really important. I'll tell you that every vendor that came out of this technical experimentation got operator evaluation that went into what's called the Vulcan system as well. And that's important because as we're doing our throughout the year evaluations of if there were contracts, that feedback matters and it's considered formal feedback from the operator. And it allows us to do a lot of things as well. Other mechanisms, of course, some of these companies may want to explore options with whether it's SOCOM or some other service component. It can be a no-cost loan. It can be a cooperative research and development agreement. There's lower SBIR, so small business innovation rewards. And Sina, correct me if I'm wrong on that one. And then what's really interesting is that sometimes some of these vendors or some of these really innovative companies don't realize that there's people that are really complementary to them, and they make some relationships and they start forming some partnerships that make it really interesting on the government side on how to provide capability solutions as well. And just to maybe to put a wrap it all up, what we're looking for on our end is we're trying to find, for the product market fit, we're trying to find warfighter capability fit. And that's where we're trying to how to de-risk this. And we may want part of the solution, or we might want what a vendor offers and we want to pair it with something else. But that's typically what the government's looking at when we're going to these things as well.
Yeah, Nick, it's a pretty cool opportunity. I think that you've laid out the value clearly, both for industry and for the operator, for the warfighter, why they would want to engage with industry in this. Great way to see what's coming down the pipe. So that said, if folks are listening, they've gotten fired up and they're like, awesome, I want to submit my white paper, I want in. What's next in the TE gauntlet for you all?
Yeah, so I'll say that the SOCOM science and technology folks don't ever stop working. So as soon as they come out of this event, they start the grind for the next one. And the next major event is going to be, I believe, on the Panhandle, Florida, location TBD, but think Eglin Air Force Base, somewhere in there. And the official announcement on SAMS.gov should be coming out in the next week or two for SOCOM technical experimentation. I believe it will be 26-1 because it'll be a new fiscal year. And that will take place in January. Same thing, for those that apply and are down selected, you can expect to have government feedback, formal evaluations, conversations with operators on the ground, and then just know on the back end the government is talking gov to gov as we're going through and evaluating on these things as well. So think of it instead of the typical conference where you're manning just a table and you're wondering what's happening. I just want to hear exactly we're coming, and we've already down selected and we're looking for them as well. So please keep an eye on that one. We want as many innovative American companies as possible applying for it. We'd love to see it.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's and maybe who knows? Maybe Steam Zone will be live at one of these things, Nick. We might have to put in a good word on the back end. We'll follow up on that, but I think a live
Steam Zone in bathing suits in the water eventually.
That'd be great.
I don't know that people want to see us in our bathing suits, but the Florida in the winter doesn't sound too bad at all. Awesome. Hey, Nick, thanks for making time. Thanks for leading the charge on this. It's important work. It's timely. It's got to happen now, and it's got to happen fast, and it's got to happen at a scale that you all are making happen. So thank you. Appreciate your time, and we will see you again soon here in the Steam Zone.
I appreciate it. I just want to thank all the great companies that came out and participated, and all the SOCOM and U.S. Army personnel that supported. It was really great to have everybody's participation, and I appreciate it.